Everyone, please stand. We'll call this Georgetown City Council meeting to order. At this time, we have a moment of silence. Thank you. I will ask Councilman Todd Stone, he was lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. I want to welcome each of you to the Georgetown City Council meeting for Monday, May the 12th, 2025. We're here to conduct business for the city of Georgetown. We're going to call the meeting to order and also have roll call. So, Madam Clerk, if you would call the roll.
Mrs. Wilkins-Brent.
Here.
Mr. Chris.
Here.
Mrs. Hambrick.
Present.
Mr. Hampton.
Here.
Mr. Minky.
Present.
Mrs. Lesby Mitchell. Here. Mrs. Tingle Sames. Here. Mr. Stone.
Here.
Thank you. At this time, I would have entertain a motion from council to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Ms. Brent. Do I have a second? Second. Second made by Mr. Mingy. Are there further questions and or comments? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say likewise. Let the record reflect that the motion passed. Item number 4, receipt of the check register. If you have received that, council, please raise your hand. Thank you. Let the record reflect that it all received. Item number 5, event application, the Horsey 100. And Ms. Lori Saunders is here.
I was going to say my partner in crime, but really he's my partner. We couldn't do Horsey 100 without the police, that is for sure. So, hi there. Just coming up to remind you all that Horsey 100 is coming up very, very soon, May 23rd through the 25th. For the last couple of years, we have been at Charles Brookings Park, and we will be again this year. On the 25th, or the 23rd and 25th on Friday and Saturday, those are a little lighter days and lighter rides. You all may be familiar with the 24th on Saturdays. Those are the really long ones. That's the 100-mile ride. So that is when we need most of the resources from the city police. So I am not privy to all the details and everything that the police has to do, so I did ask Mitch Layer to come up and kind of give you an overview of the routes and what's going to be required of them, because they always do an amazing job, all of them. So, do you mind?
Awesome, yeah, no
Thank
problem,
you.
no problem. Thank you for having me out tonight. So just a brief overview real quick. Without maps, there's many different routes. There's about 5 routes each day, so it kind of breaks into different things, but it goes all the way from Charles Brookings Park, across Champion Way, up Cherry Blossom onto Paris Pike, all the way out to Bourbon County, and a whole slew of things out in Bourbon County, and then back onto Lemons Mill, back over across the bypass and back to Charles Brookings. So quite a bit there. But we have all those routes pre-planned with them. We've been in contact with the Horsey 100 folks and have enough adequate staffing to do those. We've done them in the past. It's not a new project for us, and we've got those taken care of for you. So on Friday, there's no police staffing because it's minor races that are out towards Frankfort, Franklin County, things of that nature. Saturday, there is police presence, and then Sunday, there's a police presence because it starts at Charles Brookings Park again, goes out Cardinal Way, onto Long Lick, and then out into the county, and then back that same direction. So we have officers at those positions as well. If you have any questions with me, I'll be happy to answer those, but that's the gist of those things on that weekend race.
All right. So you all have heard the information, and if you all don't know what the Horsey 100 is, they're on bicycles, not tricycles, so they're out there rolling around. So, and you're welcome to take part in that. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to accept it.
Motion, Mayor.
Motion made by Mr. Stone. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hampton. Are there further questions and or comments? All those in favor of the motion? Oh, I'm sorry.
Lori, could you just remind us
the economic impact of this for the community?
Well, this year, we've got about 1,700 riders that are going to be coming and staying in Georgetown. Generally, our hotel rooms are completely full. So over the years, we have done economic impact studies. We have had one that has gone up to as much as $1 million in a 3-day weekend. So they are here to spend money and have fun and ride and see our beautiful scenery. I think our downtown especially, our boutiques and our restaurants, they definitely see the economic impact that all of these riders bring to our community. We do want to remind everybody to please be kind when you see the riders on our country roads. They love coming to Kentucky. It's such a beautiful sight, and we want everybody to leave Kentucky the same way they came, safe and healthy. So,
Thank you.
is that what you wanted?
That's exactly what I wanted. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could, Mayor, Lori,
Yes.
and just to clarify for everybody, it starts at Georgetown College and ends at the college, correct?
No, we are at
Brooking
Charles
Park.
Brooking Park now.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, just making sure.
All right. Are there any other questions? All right. All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say likewise. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, item number 6 refers to public comments. A reminder about public comments, and during this time, you will have 4 minutes. Please come to the podium and... Just a minute, hold on just a minute. Mr. Cherry, hold on just a minute. You have 4 minutes to which to state your business before council. Madam Clerk will give you a sign at 3 minutes, let you know that 3 minutes, and then 1 minute is left. So once again, if you will introduce your name and so on, and what you're here to talk about.
My name is Jerry Bergenhagen. I live on Ferguson Lane. My home backs up to the Gaines Farm. I wish to speak about the ordinance to annex them to the city. According to the News Graphic paper, an issue with that development is the fire department cannot meet the 4-minute arrival time to put out fires in that neighborhood. Typically, as close as Ball homes are built to each other, could be disastrous for several homes to catch fire. Now, the issue I have involves the impact statement. Me, as a taxpayer, why should I have to pay for a new fire station and a new fire truck? If you would pass the impact statement before the ordinance, you can force Ball Homes to fund enough money to build the fire station and supply a fire truck. To me, that seems to make sense. That gets me off the hook for property taxes and having to pay for that. I live in a Ball home. I think they make quality homes and so on. But the growth here in Georgetown, I moved here in 2014. The population has gone from, I think, 27,000, close to 40,000 people. And what do you look at? Look at that apartment complex that's been built on McClellan Circle. Another one down here, the Mark, that's on McClellan Circle. Another Ball Homes development that built another huge apartment complex. If they are selling those apartments as condominiums, the profit from those far exceeds what they would make from selling a single-family home. But my position is about the fire station and the impact statement. It's critical, in my opinion, that you pass that before you consider this ordinance. It will force Ball Homes to reevaluate that situation, and it could delay the project for a year. That means slightly slower growth. Are there any questions?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, folks.
Next, we have Mr. Steve Price.
I'm Stephen Price, born and raised here in Georgetown, and I want to continue this discussion about the proposed or you know, the proposed and possible annexation of the so-called Gaines property. I read the same news graphic article that Mr. Broomhagen, to which he referred. And Mayor Jenkins, you said in that article, your comments were, as quoted on the front, in that article, growth is inevitable. We have to plan for it in advance. And growth is not inevitable. The growth that that you have to address and that you're worried about is population influx. That is, people coming into Georgetown from elsewhere to work on an assembly line or to work in manufacturing or all the supporting services. And that is not inevitable. Public policy has caused that to happen. And if public policy caused it to happen, public policy can say no more manufacturing jobs. And then the people will stop coming. That solves the problem. And you say, well, what are we going to do then? You're going to do what I do, and that's what I'm here to tell you about. I raise crops. Anybody, any fool can raise crops. If your code enforcement people will let them do it. Your code enforcement people don't want them raising crops. They told me they want me working in a factory. But I'm going to show you something. This is wild lettuce. Wild lettuce, excuse me, wild lettuce. Wild lettuce. If we had time, I'll let you smell it. It smells good. It's dried wild lettuce. All I did was not mow. And the wild lettuce reseeds itself every year. Now I've been, after you all chased me off of my old place, I got another place. And I've been there 3 years. And on the third year, the wild lettuce is taking over. And all I have to do is leave it alone, not mow it. I go out there, I harvest it. I dry it in the sun, and you may agree with me that a green vegetable dish is the healthiest food a man or woman can eat, or a child. So I learned to take wild lettuce, dry it, cut it up with scissors into a pot, and then add to the pot this macaroni and cheese mix, mac and cheese, Kraft conventional mac and cheese. And I can turn this conventional macaroni and cheese dish into a green vegetable dish. And all I have to do is be left alone by your code enforcement people to do it. And every citizen, every proprietor, not every citizen, because every citizen doesn't own property, but every citizen,
That's 3 minutes.
every citizen and every proprietor can become a crop-producing horticulturist if left alone and not compelled to mow everything down. And I'm going to show you 2 books. This is a book called Edible Wild Plants. This is another book called Edible Wild Plants. There's 2 books called Eat the Weeds. Eat the Weeds. Eat the Weeds. One's by Ben Charles Harris, the other one's by a man named Dean Jordan. Let us eat the weeds. Please tell your code enforcement people to let us eat the weeds. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Price. Next, Mr. Holman, Dan Holman.
Hi there, Dan Holman, Georgetown. Yeah, I just wanted to speak about the annexation ordinance that's coming up tonight. There were some good points raised last time about, and a lot of people in the town just think, we're growing too fast. So a lot of this stuff is, we have our comprehensive plan, and we're filling it out very fast. Like it got published last autumn, and all of a sudden, all these preliminary plans are coming through. And this is supposed to be a 20-year plan. So one thing that you all monitor, like sort of the planning and zoning kind of looks at zoning like setbacks, and they look at the comprehensive plan in terms of buildings and how they're laid out. But you all kind of are the gatekeepers or the regulators about, can the city afford things, and about the pace that we go, and about lots of questions that have not been discussed, frankly, in public hearings so far. So this project, so one thing that came up, there was some frustration that we weren't allowed to have a public hearing because this is a rush time frame. that it basically has to be decided tonight because on Wednesday it runs out of time of 90 days from when it was approved, passed to you from the Planning Commission. And some people were rightfully frustrated, like, why is this? And it was identified that there's basically a flaw in the system that they're working on, that they acknowledge things take too long. So and it would be nice to have a public hearing. So regarding the public hearings that we had before in August, in last year, or actually January and February, which I didn't have a chance to attend, and a lot of people didn't have a chance to attend them. They were just, again, they're always kind of focused on setbacks and things, and the chair and the vice chair of the Planning Commission will kind of regularly, not like strongly, but people will talk and they'll be saying things that are kind of relevant to the discussion tonight, but then they say, wait a minute, we're just the little planning commissioners, we don't really think about things like that. That's more for the city council. But then that is the public hearing that for you all. That's the only one you get to see. And people are being told they really can't say these things. So I don't think we've had like a full public hearing for tonight, frankly. So it would be great to schedule one, but you all were informed, and many of you wanted to, you were informed last time you couldn't because of the timing. So regarding the timing, actually, this is the city that initiated the annexation. You all, and I agree with the gentleman before, this should just be delayed 1 year. There's lots of things that need to be discussed. So impact fees need to be finalized. And if all this stuff, we've been going a little slower than maybe planned in the last few years. Impact fees, are running a little later than originally planned. Our affordable housing discussion was supposed to be finished last year. So had all these things been finished like we planned, and we've all seen this coming for the last couple of years since COVID ended. This moment right now, this spring with all these development plans has been coming for a while, but the ducks are not in a row yet. So it just needs a little more time. Thank you. So impact fees need to be finalized before this project goes forward. Affordable housing needs to be finalized before this project goes forward. The city services needs to be finalized. The fire station, the police service, and all this feeds into this question that's been coming up about the city and county tax balance. The county is taking, like about $25 million a year that other counties in other cities similar to ours don't take. That sort of should be coming to our city. That's an issue that hopefully we can talk about. It's a huge issue. And that should be finalized before we continue with this expansions. Recently, we talked about TDRs and PDRs, and they talked to, there's an ordinance coming to you all, hopefully, is developers in the city who want exceptions to their development will pay a little bit into a fund, some credits, so that you'll have less density in the outside. This TDR thing needs to be finished. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that did not sign it and want to public comments? Thank you. Public comments, a couple of things I want to say before I get to the bulk of it, which is my budget address and also the budget presentation that Stacy's going to help show you all. But before I get into that, I want to give you kind of an update. Recently it was brought to this council about some citizens who want to have allowed urban backyard chickens. So just kind of give you an update where we are on that. I've already scheduled some meetings with where we are going to be talking with individuals, both some directors as well as some other agencies, to kind of get some information to formalize this in a way. And we'll keep you updated on that, where our progress is. But we are looking at it, and we're trying to get information. And I told Councilwoman Mitchell that I would mention that tonight because I think she was concerned about where we are on that, and I will make sure that we give you an update on that. The second thing is that a while back I talked to you all about this Georgetown City Sister City event. In 1986, Mayor Prather took a delegation under the direction of Toyota over to Japan for a visit. I think, Mayor, did you go at one time? Did you get a chance to go?
When I was mayor, yes,
Yes.
I did.
So, and this was an event where we have had a relationship with we call Terra City. And this is a good opportunity for us to continue to have that relationship And this is open to any councilman that wants to go. So the thing you need to understand that this committee was put together, and what they're charged to do is actually help plan their visit, their official visit that comes to us. And that's what we're planning on that. And then also, we hope to take a visit there. We will not be using any type of local funds to do that with. We're on our own dime, even me, some on my own dime. So, but it focuses on youth, environment, and get to the other one, youth, environment, and I escaped the other one, but I'll get to it. But those are some of the prerequisites that what drove this. And we haven't gone to actually having an official visit with them, and I think since COVID was the last one. And again, this is really a opportunity for us to continue that. This will be the 35th anniversary that we've had this relationship. So I think Karen understands what this is. I don't know if anybody on this council have gone, but I tell you what, it's a big deal. And I want to continue to do that, and we'll try to keep you up to date as to where we are on that. All right?
For the trip?
We are working on that. That's what we're doing at this point in time. You know, we're trying to get this all together. We had an initial meeting, and we're just trying to get, you know, some information that we can get back to them, as well as the association. What is it? TIS? Is that it? TI. Yeah. To excuse me. Thank you. To get that done. So.
What's the other initiative, education? Because I know
Yes.
when they came,
Yes,
they
education.
came into our classrooms.
Yeah, education, youth, and environment. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you. So those are the three initiatives, and again, these were set years and years ago, and we want to continue that because they had opportunity, I think last October, some of their youth came over, and then, of course, we took part in that. All right?
Mayor, if I can say, we never roll out the red carpet for them the way they
Oh,
will
yeah.
roll out the red carpet for any of us that go there.
Right.
So it's an experience.
Yeah, it is
definitely.
that. So, and again, here will be an opportunity for those who want to go, and we'll talk about that and how to get other people involved once council decides if they want to go, and then hopefully open up into some people in the community. All right? All right, next, budget time. Always,
Smiling like that.
you know,
Because it's over?
no, it's never over till you actually adopt it, okay? Okay, I am going to do it, okay, I'm sorry. Let me go back and do the police officer, thank you. So before I get excited about the budget and get all excited about that, let me go with the police officer recognition. All right, I'm sorry.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So I have the privilege to introduce Officer Noel Williams. So he graduated, we hired him last year. He went through the academy and graduated on March 13th. So he was a recipient of the Physical Fitness Excellence Award, as well as one of the squad leaders during his time there. So he's currently in our field training program. He's got a few more weeks to finish that up, and then he will go to field training. Typically speaking, when we bring guys up to introduce, they all don't want to say anything. I offered an opportunity for him, and he actually would like to address you guys.
All right.
First off, thank you for having me. I'm going to take this out so I don't hear the radio. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm thankful for the opportunity. I guess I should say I applied initially with my wife's blessing. She wasn't able to be here. She's actually working in North Carolina. We live in Lexington, but I had a conversation with Mayor Jenkins very briefly. We're heavily considered moving here. I enjoy being here. I love serving this community. I spent a lot of time growing up here, and I just wanted to say thank you and appreciate the opportunity to be here. I know that you all played a role in it as well with the ability for me to be able to be hired, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Welcome.
All right. Now, we can talk about budget. Everybody excited to hear about the budget, right? So, council, you have been provided a copy of my full budget message and also the proposal for the fiscal year 2026. And again, I'm just going to give you a couple of highlights from that. You know, the general fund revenue projected for this year is around $47 million revenue. This is a 6.2 increase over last year's projected. And what's the reason why? The increase largely due to commercial and industrial growth, jobs coming into our area. But residential growth is one that's still kind of in the balance. We know that residential don't always pay for itself, but yet again, you still have to provide service. The general fund expenditures are projected to be just a little bit over $48.5 million. So about $1 million or so. And this is also including some capital projects that we have on hand. So you're talking about really not a big of a deficit than what we've had in the past, and that have passed a budget that has been much, much more than what is presented here. The general fund covers about $1.4 million of storm water related expenditures. And everybody knows that that's been an issue that we have, many administrations have talked about, and for years and years and years. We know that's something that we have to address. Again, I say we put $1.4 million of our general fund balance into this. The city's aging stormwater infrastructure need more proactive maintenance. I can recall that my first year in here in 23, and I'm out there right now. I had to go put in a new drainage ditch out there by Walmart. I get a call from my city engineer. He says, "Mayor, are you sitting down?" I said, "I am now," because I always like no surprises. And he told me, he says, "Hey, we had an issue out here." I went to investigate that issue, and was a pipe that has collapsed. And in matter of fact, it collapsed the street itself. So he said, "So what do we do?" So we went back and looked at it. The foundation of it just collapsed, and it began to crack all the way back. So we was concerned, and I said, "So how do we fix this?" And he said, "We're gonna have to add a new piping all the way to the street." So some of you probably remember where we had to close that down, and it was a hefty price to do that. So that's just one of many issues. And there's some piping here in this city, folks, as old as some of us, that needs to be addressed. And I'm not talking about something that we all just don't know. Some of you all been on council, and there's been an issues going on. So this is something that we need to look at. And so I propose a cost of $234,500 to develop and implement a stormwater utility fee to look at that. This fee could allow the city to better address stormwater issues and relieve the general fund. Next, we want to talk about activities and anticipated in our fiscal year 2026. I'm proposing that this year we do a 2.9 cost of living adjustment for all city employees. 9 additional positions, which are 1 building inspection permit technician, 1 police captain, 2 police officers, 3 firefighters, and 1 code enforcement officer. I'm also reinstating the civilian 911 coordinator's position for dispatch. And that used to be done by the lieutenant in police, but now that's taken out. So we want to make sure that we're now going to put a civilian in that spot. Design and planning costs for the facilities expansion and auditions for a public safety department. Various facilities and equipment maintenance items such as park maintenance. Oftentimes we talk about putting something in new, But you know what? Let's fix what we have here first. You want quality of life improvement? Fix what we have. Then, what we think we need, we can approach that later. We have an array of great parks here. But our job is also make sure that those parks, when people come to visit, it looks like a place where people want to come and take part in. So repairs on that, replacing aging a ladder truck and a gripper truck and downtown sidewalk street maintenance projects. Talk a little bit about that. You know, Chief Thompson came up here and talked about the fire engine, the ladder truck. 38% of the time is not in service. In order for him to do what he needs to do, he needs to have resources to do that. So that's why we're putting that there. Also a gripper truck. I think this has been on Chief Bruin's list of lists, and that gripper truck runs just about every day. And if you know what the gripper truck, I didn't know what a gripper truck was until I got in this job. And it's amazing what things you learn by being the mayor. You learn that this truck is actually what it does, it's got a gripper in it, and it picks up all the like leaves and all the woods and so on. And it runs continuously every day. So it's put a toll on it. So it's gotten to a point where we need to look at that, and we want to talk about replacing it. And as always, we want our downtown to be sidewalks and street maintenance free, so we don't have issues with that. So that's what we're doing with there. Some changes from the fiscal year of 2025. In the previous, I identified goals such as extension of Lexus Way. And as you all know, that Lexus Way, out the Pretoria, what the idea is, this is one of a 20-year project that was put in play 20 years ago. And the idea was to extend Lexus Way into Old Armstrong. And from Old Armstrong, Old Oxford, Old Oxford, and that project widens a little bit and eventually goes into Newtown Pike. And what that will do is hopefully relieve some of the issues that you have with traffic. So if you're going east, you can actually go without having to go through by Walmart in that area where it's a bottleneck. Also, the construction and staffing of a new fire station. This is not new news. This is old news. And so, there are some steps we want to put in play to do that. Because it gets to a point where you need to stop talking about things and start doing. We know that growth's coming. We want to make sure that we put an avenue in place to ensure that when that happens, we are ready to go with that. And we'll go in more detail with that a little later. This year, I would like to explore a larger 911 dispatch facility and expand space for Georgetown Police Department. They're going out of space. So we got to find some. You know, 911, Georgetown Police, and so we're looking at options there to address. I would also like to find a pathway construction and staffing of a fourth fire station I mentioned before. I've proposed a cost of $250,000 for design for that station. This would expand the city's fire service footprint for the first time since 1996. We have not had a fire station in play here since 1996. Here we are, 2025. Look at the growth. Look at the demands, and look what we need to do. There is a plan in place. Finally, the proposed addition for 3 firefighters called for the change in the salary appropriation level for the department. This would help mitigate a steep hiring and training curve and could possibly impact the fire department's overall overtime budget. So it kind of give a little bit is what the play is on that. By putting this in play with the 3 firefighters, we start putting in play, you talk about recurring revenue, that's been a topic for years. So if we start putting in play, taking those 3 firefighters, we absorb it, and as time goes on, we just absorb that, and then we can look at, with the idea of actually putting a plan in place for a design for a new fire station. The fire station, the fire department can actually apply for a safer grant. And that shows that this city is really serious about taking that next step to do that. Because we know that's coming. Next, some major changes in fiscal policy. Last year's fiscal year, the city implemented 3 main changes to the fiscal policy. We did a fund balance policy. We never had that before. We put in play how much money we're going to leave in our fund balance to make sure we cover ourselves in case of emergency down the road. We never had that. So that's a smart thing to do. That's looking ahead. That's preparing for anything else that may come down the road. The approval of cooperative purchasing increase the city's purchasing power and improvement of efficiency in procurement process for authorizing the use of cooperative purchasing. What this was, it gave us an avenue to do competitive bidding process. We don't have to go out and look for him. We can just, this one group that we're able to do that, because a lot more people are going to that. It makes it easy for us. A nonprofit agency funding policy. This is the first time, right? As we used to do Nelly, just Nelly Willy, whatever. Well, I'm gonna say Nelly Willy, okay, that's because I want to say that. Because that's me. We just kind of just threw it out there, and here we go. Somebody called for funding, and we did that. We didn't have no accountability to anybody, you know. So we want to make sure that we have some accountability. We want to make sure that the people, we put something in place so they can fill out exactly what they're going to use these funds for. When they're asking for government funding, local government funding, we need to know what they're using it for and making sure that it fits the purpose and what it's intended for, what it needs for the good for all. So that's something that I am extremely proud of, and we're working on that right now. And we have a placeholder in the budget that covers that, but we'll talk more about that. In closing, I want to acknowledge that we're growing. And yes, I did say that. And I do think it is something that's happened. No matter what we do, we still have growth coming. It is our job as a council, and it's me as mayor, the executive officer for this city, to provide an avenue to meet that growth. And the way we do that, we give people the resources to provide services. The deficiency is not growth. The deficiency is not providing resources for them to do that. They can handle growth. Our job is give them the revenue, give them the funding, give them what they need to do this. That's what I'm asking of this council. Take a bold step forward. At the end of the day, do what's right by people. That's what we're here to do. Sometimes people on the higher level forget that. Who we work for. Our stakeholders are 40,000 people. And their expectations is that non-negotiables are fire and police protection, water, sewer, roads, They don't care about your excuses we're going to give them. They want to know when they pick that phone up on the worst of worst days, somebody's coming without delay. And I thank you for considering this. This is a lot of work went into this. And then, you know, I had a lot of sleepless nights. I'm gonna tell you that right now. But that's okay. That's why I signed up for it. And I'm not gonna shy away from this. This is what I believe that we need to do to impact this city for the long run. And at this point in time, I've done my preaching. I'm gonna let Stacy come up and talk a little bit more about that. Stacy, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. This is just the agenda, kind of how I've broken down the presentation. We've done things a little different than it's looked in the past. I think in the past I always kind of kept the same template. Wanting to utilize, obviously, the information in the presentations that fire, police, and some other departments have shared over the last month, and kind of continuing that at a higher level and relating to what the mayor just talked about, just illustrating where we've been and where we're going and how this year's budget fits into that plan. So our budget assumptions, and again, we kind of got into the weeds at the work session back on April 17th. This will be a little bit of a higher level presentation, but still has all the information you should need. You also have a copy of the line item budget. These will be emailed to you as well tomorrow so that you'll have electronic copies. And I know Greg's happened to be missing a few pages because the printer jammed, so if anyone else notices that your line item budget is missing some pages, please let me know. We'll get you a new copy.
I can have it memorized. I didn't have it memorized.
And again, the budget assumptions, these are the same ones that we went over at the work session on April 17th. As the mayor mentioned, a COLA of 2.9%, a little under $575,000 cost. The CERS rates are decreasing next fiscal year. That saves approximately $300,000, so a net change on that of $274,000. Our property and liability insurance, much like your personal insurance, continues to go up. Medical claims go up as well, so we've included a 9.5% increase on that. And as the mayor mentioned, our fund balance policy, and we'll have a slide a little later to get into that in a little more detail. Next slide, please. Just for illustration, as the mayor, as everybody's talked about, our population has grown. You can see from 1990 to 2029. And just a note there that anything after 2023 is projected growth. Since 2020, you're going to hear me refer to 2020 several times because that is when we did the broader future presentation. So some of this will kind of talk about how we've come in the last 5 years related to that presentation that happened right before COVID and everything kind of got off track with that. So since 2020, our average population growth has been 1.4% per year. So, next slide, please. Councils and administrations since 2020 have implemented a few revenue sources that have helped relieve the general fund and address some of the growth. The 911 service fee was adopted in 2020, brought in about $1.5 million of new revenue. The insurance premium tax rate increase from 5% to 8% brought in, at the time, about $2 million of additional revenue. Our updated building inspection fee schedule in 2023 was about $180,000. We wanted to get that in place before everything kind of boomed here. And then our updated cemetery fee schedule as well. That was kind of to get us in line with other municipally ran cemeteries. Unable to quantify that because that revenue is just not unpredictable from year to year. It doesn't follow a trajectory. And I did include a link to that presentation, especially for any new council members who maybe weren't here in 2020 who want to follow that link and watch it on YouTube. It is archived there. Next slide, please. Our total general fund revenue since 2020, you can see our revenue in 2020 was $27.3 million. And just this last year, we were budgeted around $40 million, and our projected for 2026 is $47.1. So our revenues are growing along with everything else that's going on in the city. And as the mayor said, a lot of that does come from our commercial and industrial. If you'll look at the next slide, the payroll tax revenue, you can kind of see where a big chunk of that increase comes from. So our payroll tax revenue in 2020 was about 12.6 million, and our proposed in 2026 is 22.8 million. So just in the last 6 years, that revenue has grown around $10 million.
Mayor, may I ask Stacy a question? What percentage of that is still coming from our number one manufacturer in town?
I do not have that exact percentage memorized. I know it's our industrial is a large chunk of that, but I don't think I can quantify that necessarily.
Yeah, is there any way
Yeah.
to find that out for sure? Okay.
Next is just a few other major revenues to show how they've increased over the years. The top line is our insurance premium tax. You can see between 2020 and 2022, that is when the rate jumped. Actually, between 21 and 22 is when the rate jumped. So we went from around 3.5 million per year to 6.1. But just due to the growth, due to rising insurance premiums as well, we have even grown from that 6.1 to this next year, projecting 8.8 million, based on those just naturally growing as we grow and premiums rise. And the bottom two lines, the second line, the middle line is net profits, and the bottom line is property tax. Our property tax is just a very slow, steady, straight increase. We've tried to take the 4% increase the last several years, and that keeps a little bit of growth on that property tax line. And then, of course, property tax from new developments as well. And net profits has had a slow, steady growth, but again, that's one that we try to only budget for kind of our base. We have some large swings every now and then in net profits, but we try to only budget for the base recurring that we get every year. The next slide. So these are our total revenues by category in the general fund. Some of these are lumped together. Some of the larger revenues I went ahead and pulled out. But as you can see, our employee withholding, the 2025 budget projected 19.2 million. That's pretty much what we collected in 2024. So I do think we're going to end this year higher than that. So looking at about a 9% increase year over year since 2024, and that increase is about 3.6 million over the budgeted number. But again, I don't expect it. I expect our actual to be higher. Net profits increasing about 750,000 from budgeted, and the insurance premium tax increasing about 1.5 million from budgeted. And again, I do expect us to end higher than budgeted for this year, and you can see our current year actuals in the line item report when you look through it. But grand total, our 2025 revenues were just under 41 million, and projected for 26, as the mayor mentioned, just above 47, for about a $6.2 million increase in the projected revenue. And I really tried to do a deep dive this year to make sure I evaluated not just, where we budgeted this year, but where we actually look like we're going to end, so that I could be conservative, but also make sure that we're accounting for every penny we can to fund the costs that have been requested from our departments. So the next slide, the first section we're going to get into in expenses is personnel. So you can see the personnel by department for the general fund going from 22.4 to 24.8 this year. A lot of that, I know you'll see a large chunk there with the police department. I tried to get in and look at all of it. A lot of that has to do with the new staff, but also the alcohol fund is paying for less staff than it has in the past. We had decreased the budget this year to cover some overtime. We added 2 new officers at the end of the year, but those were only in this year's budget for a very small amount, so we're having those 2 officers at a full salary next year, and then the COLA as well. So that added up. That makes it look a little larger than what it is just for the new staff. And there are some new initiatives. One of the things with the compensation study that we did last year was looking at some employee initiatives. Last year we only adopted the study, and our departments have come back to request some of these initiatives. The cost you see here is total salaries and all related benefits, but the mayor's recommending to put back the sick buyback program. Our newer Tier 3 employees do not get to use sick leave credit when they retire, so they don't really have an incentive to hold on to it. So we're hoping that they can start holding on to their sick, we will develop a policy. Council will have an opportunity to approve the policy before any of this is put into place. But just kind of generally looking, for example, you have to keep a minimum of 6 weeks, and then if you have 7 weeks, you can sell back a week. And that's an example, but we'll bring a policy to you all.
We did have that policy back
Yes.
before
Yes, it is, yes, it's
2010.
bringing it back.
Okay.
Yeah. And like I said, just, obviously, right now, sick leave's kind of use it or lose it. There's no benefit to the employees, so trying to give them incentive to hold on to it and get a little bit of benefit from that. Police detective on-call pay, this is something they asked for. Right now, detectives are still police officers by job title, by pay classification, but they are required to be on call certain weeks. They alternate weeks on being on call, and they've asked to incentivize that a little bit, just to incentivize officers to become detectives. It's not a true promotion. They're still considered a police officer, but it's a different type of duty and does come with some on-call responsibilities where they can't schedule vacations, can't go out of town, can't do some things, can't have alcohol throughout their family, whatever it may be, when they're on call for those weeks. So I believe it's just like a hour of on-call pay per day for those weeks. And last, police and fire certifications incentive. There are a lot of different programs, especially with police certified through the state, and fire is working on theirs as well. There's also some state certifications with fire that, again, to incentivize some of our younger officers to go through. There's different levels. I'm sure not explaining it well, but in the work session, I gave you copies of all the memos from the departments, and there is a memo about the training certifications in there from police department. So again, just another incentive for our employees to better themselves. If a certification is required for promotion or required for a position, they won't get an incentive for that. This would be things that are above and beyond what are required for the position. So, okay. Next slide. And this is, again, like I said, occasionally throughout here, I'll call back to that 2020 presentation and kind of have some little boxes up in the corner. So total city employees since 2020, we have added several, so we have made some progress. With that, we've added about 32 employees, I think. You can see up in the upper right-hand corner kind of the historical. In 2000, we had 233. And then we had 241 in 2005. That was kind of our peak, and then it dropped down. Of course, you know, economy went through a recession. Some hard decisions had to be made. And so we're kind of building back kind of to where we were back in 2005. So we've made some strides towards getting back to that number. All right, next slide. Breaking down just a few of our large departments. Sworn police personnel, again, pulling back from that 2020 and then adding to it. In 2020, there was a proposal to add 5 police officers per year. If we had done that, we would have been at 83 officers right now. But right now, we're at 75, proposing 78 next year. And you can kind of see up in the upper right-hand corner, pulling from that 2020 presentation and updating the numbers, our police officers per 1,000 residents. So in 2018 data, it was 1.69. Our 2026 proposed will be up to 1.9, still a little below where our peers were in 2018 and the FBI national average of 2.4. But growing a little bit, we have obviously added about 20 sworn police personnel since 2020, so we've made some strides, but not the original 5 per year that we had planned on. Next, for firefighter personnel. So this is total firefighters. So this would be all the way from our firefighters up to the chief. But I know Chief Thompson made a comment in his presentation that we hadn't added, I think, line or truck personnel since about 2007. So as the mayor mentioned, for the first time since 2007, I think we're recommending adding 3 firefighters, 1 per shift. And as the mayor said, this gives them the opportunity to get those firefighters trained before they would add additional with a safer grant, and before hopefully a new station will open in the next couple years or so. And again, you can see that historical data in the upper right-hand corner. In 2018, we were at 1.63 firefighters per 1,000. Because of the population increases, our 2026 proposed gets us to 1.46. It's actually still a little bit of it's actually a decrease from where we were per 1,000. And our peer average in 2018 was 2.2. So still some progress to be made there. Public Works staffing, just showing that. Again, we didn't have anything in the 2020 presentation that I could show you compared to population growth there. 2020 and 21, that is when it was strictly Public Works. When sanitation was privatized, those staff came over to Public Works. Through attrition, we got it down to a total staff of 26 currently. So we've added about 9 since 2020, again, with some of those sanitation employees becoming permanent Public Works employees. Next slide, please. This slide is just a summary of our general fund personnel request so that you can see what made it in, what didn't. As the mayor mentioned, the building inspection permit technician, the police captain, the 2 police officers, 3 firefighters, and 1 code enforcement officer were included in this budget. And this is general fund only. There'll be a slide for others, departments later, or funds. Positions not included, there was a request for 5 police officers, so 3 were not included. 2 safety officers, the crime analyst, open records clerk, 3 of the firefighters, and 1 code enforcement officer. We will continuously evaluate these requests, and the mayor, Devin, and we'll work with the departments. And I know the open records clerk is a big one, that is a big need for that. But just kind of wanting to get some, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Stacy, so
Yes.
the mayor shared earlier the lieutenant that was over 911 shifting back to the police
Yes,
department.
and I
Where is
apologize.
that shown?
I didn't include that on here. I should add it, but per the ordinance, it is already an authorized
Right,
position.
right.
But yes, it will be returned to the police department.
But we gotta make up that
That
salary,
is part of
right?
their budget. So that is an increase on their budget.
So it's not included in these numbers?
It is not, no, I would need to add that one separately, so. The next slide, just kind of showing a little bit of what we've managed to accomplish over the last 10 years, some since that 2020 presentation, but just the large capital projects that we have either completed or authorized or are in progress. I won't go through this laundry list, but we've gotten a lot done, more to be done, of course, as you'll see coming up, as the mayor mentioned, but the Lanesboro Business Park Phase 3 expansion is out to bid right now, and a couple of federal projects that have been funded, but we haven't sent those out for design yet, but we have had funding awarded on those. Next slide, please. The proposed capital expenditures for 25-26, so these are the ones that are included. These are smaller items. You can see as the mayor mentioned, the facility needs assessment for police, the forensic scanner, some other small equipment, communication equipment. If we're adding new officers, they need new mobile and portable radios, and they're also requesting a vehicle repeater. As the mayor mentioned, the architectural design fee for the fire department for Station 4, $250,000. You'll actually see that as a transfer to the capital outlay fund because I'll need to track all those expenses in one place. So the new ladder truck, the budget estimate on that was $2.2 million. After discussions with Finance Committee, the mayor decided he'll be recommending financing that. We'll seek it through, we'll look at both financing through the dealer that is selected and also financing from local financial institutions. We'll see where we get the best deal on that. This would be just typically a simple loan that could be paid back. We'll make sure we can pay back with no prepayment penalty so that we can, but annual payment based on what they had given us was a little under $400,000. So we've included a first annual payment on that. And again, so fire station renovations, Station 1 has about $50,000 of renovations in anticipation of EMS moving out and needing to renovate, do some renovations in the space they held, and then some small renovations at Stations 2 and 3. A mower and trailer for code enforcement, parking lot improvements at Public Works, the gripper truck, as the mayor mentioned, the entry point signage, that's something a lot of people have been talking about, so that's about $50,000 for a landscape architect to design them, and then about $150,000, so about $25,000 per sign for actual construction or installation of the signs. The East Main extended road improvements, that's something I know a lot of people have heard a lot about. Eddie's mentioned it, so he included $50,000 in his request for that. As you're going over the railroad tracks across East Main, just to work on some road improvements there. The Main Street brick sidewalk rehab, we had included the engineering for that in the first phase in this year's budget. We're still in the design phase of that, so looking at trying to get both phases of the actual construction done. And I believe, I don't want to misstate, I think it's from Water to Mulberry. Yeah, so that's, so trying to get all of that done. Parks and Rec, the parks projects, Drew came up and talked to you about those, or talked to those at an interlocal meeting, I think, but you have copies of the parks budget, I think. And the last one is something the mayor's been talking about with Judge Covington, including $250,000 for our half of the design of some of the quality of life projects that had been mentioned by Parks. So I don't know if the mayor wants to add anything about that one, but.
No, we're still talking, Judge Covington on, and we're trying to find out, I think something we're gonna do is we're gonna bring back to this council some, for your input on some of the proposals for that, and then if you all probably decide as to which one of those you all think is how far. And so we're gonna bring it back to your input.
Next slide, please. And this is just general fund total expenditures by department. You can see how each department compares year to over year. The capital, the reason it goes from 1.7 to 0, those are the land purchases that we made in December. So that is why that went from 1.7 million to 0. No purchases planned in the current fiscal year for that. So again, 48.6 million of total expenditures. It's actually an $800,000 decrease from last year on the expenditure side. But we did have a lot of large capital expenses this past year, including fire truck and, like I said, the land purchases, so a lot of capital. Next slide, please. Again, just calling out some of the larger purchases that were included in the budget. A benefit platform for more efficient processing. Right now, our benefits platform and payroll platform are separate, so this allows it to be one seamless, less room for clerical error. Some of the larger information technology, the cybersecurity and disaster recovery are carried over from this year. Just some hardware replacements, ADA compliance, archiving software for the website. For the city engineer department, a road pavement analysis. We did this probably 5 to 10 years ago, and it's just an additional tool that uses infrared or radar to kind of assess the surface of the road conditions. It is an additional tool that can be used to determine which roads need to be paved next. The traffic calming from Indian Hills, carrying that over. Sidewalk cost sharing, continuing to keep $50,000 in the budget for that, so we can continue to work with our citizens on that. An increase on the sister city line item. I think they may be planning a visit, so there may be some professional services involved with planning a visit coming up in the next year or so. And the Rumpke voucher program, we had been using ARPA funds to pay for that. So the ARPA funds for that particular project have been depleted, and that is something the city and county fund jointly. So it was about $35,000 last year, so that's what I've put in for this year. Next slide, please. And on the flip side, requests that were not included. Obviously, any equipment related to staff that was not added, such as the police officers or firefighters. The police camera and access system control That's actually on the agenda for tonight, I believe. So that is an expense that we removed from the new year request. It's actually going to show up as a more urgent need, and they can tell you more about that when we get to that agenda item tonight. So it's just kind of shifting it from one year to the other. The parking lot pavement project across the street from the police department, just want to, with having a needs assessment on facilities and such, we're going to defer that and see what else we can come up with and what else we might want to do on that campus. The fire department all-terrain vehicle, the fire station 4 construction costs, the reason the full $4 million is taken out is because we will, by the time we get the design bid out, awarded, done, reviewed, and actually go out to bid for construction, we would not anticipate incurring any construction costs before July 1 of next year. So we've got time to get through that this year with the design and continued discussions about that project. And again, some pieces of public works equipment. The street sweeper, that one keeps coming up every year. Again, if the stormwater utility fee moves forward, that is something that can be funded from that. If it doesn't, then that'll be something that comes back to council to address sooner than later if that initiative isn't taken. So, all right, next slide. So, wrapping up the general fund, just kind of looking at the big picture. This is our fund balance trend over the last 10 years. This is a slide I always include in my budget presentations. When you see the big dip in 2019, that is because we funded half of the Georgetown Scott County radio tower project, and we also funded half of the Lanes Run Business Park Phase 2 expansion project. So we paid for those projects with cash. But from 2018 to 2023, we built back up from 12 to 31 million. Part of that is due to revenues outperforming the budget. It is also due to a lot of federal funding help that we got post-COVID. We're still spending down our ARPA money because we received almost $10 million in ARPA, and even though it's all committed and designated, we're still spending those funds down. But if some of you remember back in 2021, 2022, we actually received a few million that went directly toward first responder salaries as well. So that helped those budgets out in those years. And again, the dip that you see is related a lot to capital projects. We've had some grant matches for Lexus Way, Old Oxford Tap, City Hall renovation, land purchases, fire engine. There's a lot of things that have resulted in that, the bulk of that being about 11 million for City Hall. But our projected fund balance for 2026 would be 16.5 million. And the next slide shows a little more detail on that.
Stacy?
Yes.
Can we jump back just real quick?
Yeah.
To your comments about the ARPA funds?
Yes.
And is there a list out somewhere that shows any of those funds that are being used that are recurring funds and when they would roll back onto the?
Yes, it's only being used for one recurring, off the top of my head, but there is a list that shows exactly how the full 10 million was spent. The affordable housing salary is the only one that I can think of off the top of my head that would have been a recurring cost.
And when would that roll off?
I think this may be the last year, but I'll double check on that. So that would be something the general fund would need to absorb going forward. But we tried, for the most part, that was a new program at the time we got the ARPA funds, so we did use that to kind of get that new program off the ground. But we tried to be careful, other than that, to not use ARPA for recurring expenses, because we knew that once it was gone, it was gone. So back to the analysis. As you can see, our projected general fund expenditures in this budget are 48.6 million. 30% of that, so our desired minimum fund balance, is 14,592,386. So you can see what our projected fund balance is for 2025. It's about 18 million. The current budget has about a $1.5 million deficit, which gets us to about 16.5. And then we have some restricted balances, streetlight deposits, police evidence cash, some other things that are restricted that can't count towards that. So that 1.4 million So our projected uncommitted general fund balance at the end of 2026 would be $15,087,000, which is just under $500,000 more than what we would have our required minimum. So this budget will be in line with that fund balance policy. But the main thing I want to note, as the mayor mentioned, there's over $3 million of capital in this budget, but additionally, we have carried over about $1.42 million of projects that were slated for this budget that are getting moved into the next year. So again, you know, the effect on fund balance is the same, whether it comes out of this year's budget or next year. But as far as the budget deficit for next year, if it hadn't been for carrying forward $1.4 million in carryover projects, we would have been within $100,000 or so of being balanced on the budget for 2026.
Thank you for your hard work. Would you consider this to be a fairly conservative estimate, or do you feel like this is pretty spot on as far as the revenue projections and the capital outlays?
I went through them as much as I could using historical trend data. I felt fairly conservative. I know we've got a lot of things going on, and I tried to sit down and see if I could project what some of the new activity would, but I don't have project numbers. I don't have payroll numbers for those projects. So these numbers are based on our historical trend data. So now if we continue to trend at about a 9% increase per year in property tax, which is what we've done in the last 5, 6, 7 years, this should be fairly conservative.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to pause for a second. That's the end of the general fund, and we still have a few other funds in our budget that we have to account for. So if there's no other questions, okay. We'll move on to the 911 fund. So again, a staffing slide for 911. You'll see a jump from 2020 to 2021. That's when we enacted the telecommunications fee, which not only gave first responders about a $5,000 raise each, it also increased staffing at our 911 center. You can see we have in 2018, we had about half of a dispatcher for every 1,000 residents, and our 2026 proposed is 0.67, but we did not have a peer average to compare to in 2018, so I don't have that data. So we've increased slightly. The next one is the 911 fund personnel request. The 911 coordinator, the civilian position, as the mayor mentioned, this will be in addition to the personnel ordinance, but it is not in addition to their budget. The 911 center was paying for the police lieutenant that supervised their center. As Councilmember Minke mentioned, that lieutenant will move back to the police department, be housed in their budget, and we will be replacing that with a civilian 911 coordinator position. So that cost is included on here. And several positions not included. Telecommunicator, they have about 5, as of the last time we spoke with them, which was just in the last week or so, they had about 5 telecommunicator full-time vacancies, 2 part-time vacancies. And so we asked, the mayor asked that they wait on these positions until we get some of those vacancies filled. Obviously, if we promote people, that creates more vacancies at the bottom in the telecommunicator positions. And then the open records clerk, a similar issue, obviously, the police department's having. And I think staff will be working on some ways perhaps we can try to address both their needs on the open records side. The next slide is just a total of the 911 fund revenues. We have our 911 service fee projected about $1,608,000. Our CMRS state revenue, $450,000, and the interlocal revenue from the county that covers their half of the expenses at $2,108,000. And then you can see the expenses there. We are using a little bit of reserves for this budget, but as of June 30, 24, the 911 fund had a $2 million fund balance. So that accumulated in the early years of having that fee. The last 2 years is when the AMK maintenance contract, that's about $500,000 a year, kicked in. So now the budget's are eating into that, but we need to spend down that fund balance because we collected from that service fee, so we're gonna spend that down a little bit more before we talk about other ways to address that. But we've still got, so after this budget, we would still have about 1.6 million left in the fund, in the 911 fund balance.
So how long do you think that would be before we need to?
I mean, it could be anywhere from 3 to 5 years. Right now, this year, we've got a $300,000 deficit, but if we do add more staff and they're able to actually fill those positions, it could obviously diminish a little faster, but they've had a history of vacancies and they're looking at ways to try to address that. So,
If I must say that, you know, in talking with the 911 people, that is a very stressful job. And people don't know that these people are talking to citizens on their worst day. And we have trouble feeling it. And if you can imagine somebody is screaming and hollering, you know, Todd probably has gone through that before, and they're beside themselves. And their job is to sit there and talk them through this process. And I tell you what, my hat's off to them, because it is a tough ordeal. So we wanted to make sure we get these vacancies done first, because if you try to fill it on the top hand, you're still on the bottom hand. But so that's where we are. So I just wanted to mention that.
next slide, please. Next, we have our Environmental Services Fund. This used to have a lot more activity in it. Now it is mostly housing the stormwater, but the stormwater is still covered by a transfer from the general fund. So you see on the revenue for this year, $1,459,451 of general fund dollars is transferred to the Environmental Services Fund to cover stormwater. And you can see the various expense categories, and then the sanitation department now is just an in and out. We collect, or GMWSS collects the sanitation revenue from our citizens, remits this to us, and the city pays one invoice to Republic for all of the city's residential sanitation solid waste collection. And on the next slide, just kind of a rundown of the stormwater projects that are included, so you can see what makes up the bulk of that 1.4 million. As the mayor mentioned, the bigger items, $234,500 for the development of the stormwater utility fee. About $270,000 of the budget is clean outs, inlet repairs, the camera cleaning. That's how we find out where the problems are and hopefully fix them before they happen. And then about almost $500,000 of that is again a carryover project of the Broadway Clayton stormwater channel repair. That is still in the final phases of design and getting before it goes out to bid. Our next fund is cemetery. And we have been able to add some cemetery staff since 2020. This has eliminated, finally, all of his positions are filled, and we have finally eliminated the use of the temp help. So all staff out there are city employees now. So so he has 5, including our sexton out there. The next slide is just a summary of the cemetery fund. This is an interlocal, so the county does pay for half of the expenses, as does the county. And then we have a little bit of revenue, as mentioned before. This is a revenue that's hard to predict. You don't know what it's going to be each year. But one of the big things, we addressed this in last year's budget, but haven't made the purchase yet. So this carries over $200,000 for the purchase of land. There's a space that we had an architectural firm did a study on where the expansion for the cemetery could go. We are running out of space. Gene keeps telling us 3 to 5 years. Can't sell more than 4 plots together right now. So, but that land that is adjacent to the cemetery has land and water conservation fund restrictions on it. So we have to buy an equally valued piece of property to transfer the restrictions to. I know a question I think was raised maybe in the finance committee or at the budget work session about whether or not land could be donated for that. So I'm sure the mayor and Devin will be looking into that. But for now, we've included $200,000 so that we can continue that process. Next slide, this is just a summary of other funds. The Business Park Fund, truly, at this point, as of the end of this fiscal year, that debt is paid off from prior projects. So now the Business Park Fund will truly just be expansion projects or small projects that are needed as customers come in to buy lots. Sometimes we have to reroute infrastructure or do things. The Alcohol Fund, as mentioned, revenue's kind of stagnated, stabilized. We're not seeing a lot of increases in our alcohol revenue. So proportionately, it covers a little less of our police salaries each year. Municipal Road Aid, LGEA, the Drug Fund, that right now, we'll start seeing some more revenue coming back into that. We do have some task force officers, but mostly it's money they accumulated from in the past. When we had a task force officer, they're only allowed to spend it on certain things, so we just carry that money over, and they have that. Federal and state grants, we'll get into that more a little bit on the next sheet, but these are carryover grants. The ARPA fund, we've got about 1.9 million left of that to spend. The bulk of that is $1.5 million worth of fire trucks that are due to arrive next spring. Our medical self-insurance fund, which again, we pay our own claims. We collect money from our employees. The city contributes money to the fund, and then we pay our claims out of that fund. And again, the capital projects fund, that's mostly carryover, and we'll talk about that on the next slide, please. So, at the beginning of the line, I put which fund it comes out of, but again, Business Park, I asked Jack, he said to keep it in there. We've still got $525,000 earmarked for gas line installations as phase 2 lots sell. If anything comes up, we have that money set aside for that. Our phase 3 sewer privilege and modeling fee that you approved, it hasn't been paid yet, so I went ahead and included it in next year's budget, just in case, because I don't know when it's due. But you all did approve that. And then, of course, the design and construction of about $1.6 million for phase 3. And that is the city, county, and Scott United's portion of the construction that lives in the Business Park Fund. Under state grants, they have a little bit of money left for the training center grant, and there you see the $1.5 million from the KPDI for that half of the Lanes Run Business Park expansion. And then you're going to see again Lexus Way and the TAP grant for West Main Street. You'll see it in 2 places. You'll see the grant funded portion, and then down at the bottom, the capital projects funded portion. So those are carryover projects. KOHS hazmat equipment. We purchased the truck, but we still have to outfit the truck with some equipment, so that's still there. The remaining balance, current balance of our rapid rehousing ESG grant. As mentioned in the ARPA fund, the bulk of that is fire engines of $1.5 million and some parks capital projects of $230,000. The capital projects fund, most of this is carryover. City Hall, the road projects. I don't think there's this much left on the South Sarah Extension project, but it is completely funded by KIA loan proceeds, so it's an in and out on the fund. But that was the balance on the last pay app that we paid several months ago. And then the EMS station completion, that one may be done prior to June 30, but that's the current balance as of today. Just a note on carryover projects in grants and in capital projects. We usually do a budget amendment in September or October of each year that adjust all these carryover balances to reflect what's actually spent through June 30. So when we're developing the budget, we look at what's left on the project today, and then in the fall, we will adjust for any expenditures between now and the end of the fiscal year.
I have a question.
Yes.
Are the grants that are included here already given? Are
Yes,
they in abeyance?
these are all awarded grants that
Okay.
council has accepted, just remaining balances.
Okay, thank you.
So for example, we have another KPDI application out there for, I think, phase 3. I didn't include that because, again, it's in the application phase. We've not, I don't think, received a notice of award on that one, so. Awarded projects only. The last thing we'll talk about, just as the mayor said, there's some things in the future, things to consider. I've included all the positions that did not get funded as future, but then there's some others that have been talked about just with workload and staff and things going on. Potentially assistant finance director in the next few years and a staff engineer as well. Eddie's the only licensed engineer in his office, so the workload continues to grow in that office as well. And then on the next slide, as the mayor alluded, just some future capital project needs. Some he mentioned in his, such as the needs assessment for a police department expansion, Station 4 construction. We've got the design in here, but the construction will be coming. We talked about Station 5, not too far behind that potentially. Dispatch, whether it be a new center or expansion. Stormwater infrastructure projects are always going to be coming up, and then just something that really just an idea floating out there, but they've talked about a one-stop shop for building, electrical, and planning. Once some facilities come available after county projects finish construction, there may be some space available to do a one-stop shop. And then the last thing, again, kind of keeping with that theme that our departments presented to you last month, some of the things that you all talked about, the mayor's talked about, just things to consider in the future. So.
All right, Stacy,
I have one question.
you have a question? Yes, go ahead.
The Broadway project construction cost carryover, has
Yes.
that number remained stable for the entire year? Has any of that been appropriated? Has the work begun? Because it,
The 492,750, my understanding is, they're still working on some things before we go to bid on that. We've not gone to bid
so
on
it's not gone to
construction
bid
yet.
yet? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
I may have missed it there. What is our debt service right now?
Yes, it was in the general fund. Let's see if we could go back to slide 19. Let's see, if not, it is $1,066,000 in the current budget. Next year it'll be 1.1 million. So that is it was a 2008 refunding that was refunded again in 2014. The bond for the police department, both of those are past 10 years now, so they're past the callable point where you can choose to pay back early without a penalty from the, and then we still have a little bit left on that variable lease that we had from KLC on Cephaletta, but that will be paid off at the end of next year.
I have one more question.
yes, ma'am.
The $200,000 proposed for the signage,
Yes.
is tourism adding to that, or?
Yes, I think
That's,
the
we're in
mayor's.
conversation with that. And as a
Okay.
matter of fact, and I talked with Lori, we're gonna meet on that. And also having a conversation with Judge Covington too.
Okay,
So, you know, we're in conversation, that's a possibility that all three of us could do that because they're talking about putting some signage up there too. And we don't want all duplicating the same thing. So we're gonna get together and just try to figure out what we can do. So that number may change.
Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
All right, Stacy, as always.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
You're worth your
Yeah,
salt. Yeah, you're worth what I'm paying you for.
you need your assistant. Yeah, you need your assistant.
You are absolutely. I'm telling you what, I don't, like I said, I don't know what we would do without her. I'm gonna tell you what, you talking about looking at figures all the time. She comes and looks at me and looks at those figures and all that, and I'm looking like, explain to me like I'm like a 10-year-old in middle school. Tell me what we're looking at here. And she's very good at explaining to me exactly to the penny what we got going. And that is hard to do. So I'm gonna keep you around for a little bit longer. At least after this budget is done. No, I'm just kidding. But I'm truly, and this council truly are indebted to what you do. Because I'll tell you what, we would not be very successful without you giving us this and to make a decision that's going to be good for people. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next on the item is we got council committee reports. And I don't know, finance, do you have anything or you want to kick it to the next time? Okay, so council over that. And we got Public Works.
Yes,
Right.
we do.
Yeah, okay.
We actually had a meeting on April the 16th. And we had a roll call. All members, most members were present except for Council Member Stone. He was excused, but Mayor Jenkins, staff, and myself was there. Minutes from the meeting that was held on March 19th was approved. A general update for Public Works. Public Works Director Bruin reported that crew members have begun mowing season, and the city will participate in the reverse salt auctions again this year. The auction will be held on May the 20th, 2025. Blacktop plants were anticipated to open on April the 17th, allowing pothole patching to begin. Just went over the budget process, but a new gripper truck and street sweeper were the highest priorities and the biggest expense. And CAO Golden stated that the sweeper could be funded through a stormwater utility fee if City Council would choose to implement a fee at the future date. Then we had stormwater management discussions, and City Engineer Hightower reported that heavy rainfall from April the 3rd through the 7th would be considered a 50-year event. He noted that a portion of the Broadway had to be temporarily closed during this event. City Attorney Bertram is working with City Engineer Hightower on the Broadway Channel project, negotiating property access to the channel before the project can be bid. There is currently another stormwater issue in Bradford subdivision where a fence had been placed in an easement. Potholes had been repaired on Lesby Path. The sidewalk project will begin, or has begun, the week of April the 21st, I believe. Other ongoing projects included the brick sidewalk on Main Street and Indian Hill Stormwater Project. And then as far as the budget process for the engineering, City Engineer Hightower reported that he had submitted his budget request, and some of these requests will be part of the departmental presentation that was held on April the 28th. And then last, we had general discussion. Mayor Jenkins reported that fewer trash pickup complaints there were fewer trash pickup complaints. And City Engineer Hightower reported on Marshall Park bathrooms projects, informing the committee that navigating sewer line connections is delaying the project. And after that, we closed.
But I think up to this point, correct me if I'm wrong there, Eddie, that you all got that concern taken care of. Now we're moving forward with that sewer line extension. Perfect, thank you. All right, next we have the police.
Sure, Mayor.
Thank you.
Glad to provide an overview there. The police committee met on the 5th of May. Everyone was present and participated. Just a few bullets for what we covered. Staffing, hiring, and recruiting has always been one of the issues that we've been talking with the chief and his senior staff. And so there is a hiring class in process right now, the evaluation and background and testing going on right now. We talked a little bit about the awards, that there's a number of awards with the officers across the board, great things that they're doing, so we talked about those. On the community relations side, just a couple quick things there. The 29th Citizens Police Academy graduated last week, and there's a junior police academy that's going to be taking applications. So this is for 13 to 17-year-olds. It's a one-week activity in July, and so applications are there for students that want to participate. It's a very hands-on activity. Having just gone through the police academy, I can tell you it is very eye-opening, and you truly are get the passion of what our officers are all about and what they need to be successful. The other PR activity I wanted to just share quickly, and this is a program that Officer Brisk is spearheading for the group, but it's called the Yellow Dot Program, and I thought this is a great activity. It's a voluntary program that helps all emergency services for residents that may have children or young adults that have issues and so it's a program based out of U of L that you can affix this, and it gives a heads up and provides some background information to the officer or emergency responder that's coming to your aid on how to best handle and relate to those individuals so that there's no mistakes and there's no misunderstandings of what's going on. So I think, one of those very proactive things that I think is great, and if you're interested in that, we've got information to share on that. Again, it's a voluntary program. The other thing that, two other things quickly. So we had parking issues at the hotels because of car carriers and things like that are parking on the streets, and they're not allowed to do that. So there's been some very proactive things going on to help educate the hotels and the trucking companies that are utilizing those services and to not park there. And unfortunately, if you continue to park there, we may end up having to tow folks for public safety. So just wanted to put that out there. The last item is actually on our agenda later today. We talked and supported the security solution proposal that will be brought to the council.
Thank you. Thank you all for your reports. Now we're ready to go to second readings, and I'm going to lead you through this. The first one is annexation ordinance, 1367 Paynes Depot Road, sponsor Sonia Wilkins Brandt. We have second reading. Okay.
An ordinance annexing into the city of Georgetown certain real property containing approximately 182.44 plus or minus acres located at or around 1367 Paynes Depot Road, Georgetown, Scott County, Kentucky. Summary. 1. Annexes into Georgetown city limits by written consent of the property owner in accordance with KRS 81A.412, approximately 182.44 plus or minus gross acres, 174.74 plus or minus net acres, located at or around 1367 Paynes Depot Road, Georgetown, Kentucky, 40324, Scott County, PVA parcel number 140-30-002.000. 2. Provides for repeal of inconsistent law, severability of provisions, and effective date upon passage and publication. The full text of this ordinance is available for examination in the City Clerk's Office, 629 North Broadway, Georgetown, Kentucky, 40324, or at www.georgetownky.gov. Publicly introduced and read for the first time April 28, 2025. Publicly read the second time May 12, 2025.
At this time, council, your pleasure. Do I have a motion?
Motion made.
Motion made by Mr. Minky. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Ms. Hambrick. Are there further questions and or comments?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes.
I would like to just, there's been some discussion of the, I guess the development fees, impact fees, and what those will do. Can someone address the issue in the room? If this is, for whatever reason, delayed or whatever, do we have the option to go back and assess these fees on this development?
Well, like I said, I'm not sorry on this, but is someone here from the group here can address that on annexation from that group here? Or
Yeah, I think that question to that point is more so related to the city's decision, which is forthcoming and under legal research right now. I know the next step for consideration of the development impact fee is that outside legal counsel is reviewing and drafting an ordinance, but in the same scope of drafting that ordinance, kind of reviewing and making sure that there's a comfort level with the legality of all components of that and the components of how that ordinance would be administered. So I won't state a legal opinion on that because I am also not your city attorney at this point, but I think that's part of the scope of that research is when that fee, could be implemented, but generally speaking, I don't think you can ever retroactively recover something like that. But, part of the research does have to be at what point in the development process
Correct.
is it defensible to do so.
Right.
And I think we talked about that as part of the research, not just the drafting of the ordinance, but also providing a legal opinion as outside counsel on when they would say you can defend imposing it on this development, or based on where this project is in the hopper, I wouldn't subject them to it. So that is part of the research that's happening right now, but generally speaking, I think that answers your question, Greg.
Thank you. Another question, is someone from Ball Homes here?
Yes.
Mayor, may I
Yes.
ask them a question?
Yes, come on up.
Record Nick Nicholson for Thank you. Looking, you know, I've read over this and looking, you know, do you know how long Ball Homes has been in Georgetown?
Going back to August, like 30, 40 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Quite some time. I mean,
Mount Vernon was.
on the project, we are still actively developing. We took that over in 2012, and that's the Abbey at Old Oxford. Before that, we've done the Bradley property. We have done the Price Farm, done Buchanan, at least 40 years, I'd say.
Okay. My point being that, you know, Ball Homes has been here, I got many years, many years. They have built a lot of homes here. They've brought a lot of growth to the community. Going back and looking at your website under community involvement and things, there's nothing listed for Georgetown, Scott County. And with all that, you've brought in, and plus you've taken profits out, you know, is there any plan to put any kind of community involvement in Georgetown, Scott County?
So we have built a substantial, millions upon millions of dollars of infrastructure that has been dedicated to Georgetown, entirely at our expense for your all's benefit, that exceeds far what the scope is of our individual developments. For example, just on the bypass, we put in a 12-inch water line that goes basically from Lexington Road well past where the Gaines Farm is today, that serves much more of a scope than our development, entirely at our expense. We have built 3 pump stations just in this area that serves more than just what our project is. As part of the conversation with the Gaines Farm development itself, we're working with Georgetown to even move a pump station that we built, again, at our expense. We're going to move it at our expense in order to better serve Georgetown.
Okay.
So there is a substantial that we have, but that does not mean that we cannot always get more involved civically. And I know
and that's my point.
Correct.
Is, you know, you're doing these things to help your development. I'm talking more on the civic side. You know, when I look at it, I mean, your footprint in Lexington, Fayette County is much larger than it is here, but you're involved in all these other outside civic organizations, and I see none in Georgetown. That's my point.
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, truly one of the founding tenets that Don Ball had with regards to Ball Homes was his involvement with affordable housing. He was a champion when it came to building affordable housing at a time where it was not politically advantageous to be building affordable housing. And so it is very much in our core tenets to be involved civically, and we are more than happy to talk with you all about how we can best do that here in a heartbeat, because that is what we are founded.
Is there, in this proposed development, is there any affordable housing?
It is not the federal mandated affordable housing.
Okay.
It will be affordable as far as being able to afford, being able to buy a house, but it does not meet the federal mandates of basically the median income.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
What is your average price home that you sell in the city of Georgetown?
I do not have that information off the top of my head.
Sorry, I'm Buddy Goodwin, I'm general counsel. Housing's gone up a lot, right, in the past few years, so I was gonna come up here and say something in the higher $200,000 range would be, as far as the houses you're talking about with this development. They're a much more affordable kind of, they fit in the line with using the property that you have and not sprawling and those kind of things. But sorry, but I mean I would have to say the median is much more in the 300 and something thousand now probably. These would be probably 320, maybe 310,
I
something like
would,
that.
I would say you're probably right. The
Yeah.
houses that I've kind of noticed, 3,000, 300,000 plus, 350 plus in some of the ones that, the developments that you were mentioning. So is that affordable housing?
If you look around, what people what people are paying and what things aren't, unfortunately, yeah. I mean, again, it's not low income, right? I mean, that's I understand that, and we work with, like Nick said, we worked over the years trying to facilitate those kind of things, and it's really hard to do. That's kind of low income housing in places that are growing, because they're more, all those programs are more geared towards, there's got to be a bus stop and people can, it's just a really hard quandary to address that much lower. But he's right, it's our ethos. Mr. Ball started building because he wanted to build houses for under $10,000 for firemen and teachers, and so we still have that. It's grown. The houses are much, we have some bigger houses, but it's still very much, and I heard every word you said. Okay, I don't know wish I knew better what our website said, but that's going to be spoken loudly at Ball Homes if that's the case. We have people that live here, they work here. I mean, we're a citizen, and our people are citizens here, so that, I don't know what's going on there. I'll have to look at the website. It kind of surprises me a little bit, but I heard you, okay, for sure. So yes, I think, there's just a lot of things. I mean, Holden was talking about something at the other meeting, and this gentleman brought up coming up with something, a trade development right so that you can use the land. Well, that's trying to avoid sprawl, right? So when you see this development, you look at it, and I know it's scary, and you go, wow, there's 260 or whatever houses, and there's some apartments, and then you have this, commercial section. It looks like a lot, and I understand that. But, we are very much trying to make use of every ounce of that precious bluegrass land, right? And not, make use of the things that people are asking us from a planning standpoint to do that. So I know it looks like a lot of times, a developer, it's all money, but, we're reacting almost all the time. We're reacting to what the planning people are asking us. We're reacting to what the market wants for us. Part of the reason you see siding and things is people 9 times out of 10, hell, more than that. They want more in their kitchen. They want to spend the money in their kitchen or somewhere in their house than they worry about kind of whether there's a brick on the side of the house or something. So these are all really market-based things. So we just try to react to that and try to do a good job and try to provide, and that's why it's been successful, I think. So I don't know if that helps, but we're not, we're very conscious of all those things. In this particular project, on the place that it is, and the fact that probably the first thing that'll come in, first thing that's probably going to have an impact is actually jobs and things. I mean, the commercial part is going to be, we've already got somebody that's a very reputable, I don't know if I can.
Healthcare provider. We said it last week.
We did, okay. Those are good professional jobs. I mean, not that there won't be some, I'm sure there'll be some restaurants. I mean, it'll be what it is, but it's, it's been in the plan for 30 years out here, and it's already surrounded by a bunch of annexed property. So we think we'll do a good job with it, and it won't be something it's just we're not going to show up out there in, probably 3 years or 5 years with a massive amount of residential units. That's just not, it's not what's going to happen. So again, I get it. I get the job you guys deal with. I understand the growth. Everywhere we build, there's growth. I know people always want to go, Ball Homes bringing growth, but it's not really what happens. We only can come to some spot when there's growth going on, and then we provide a product to provide housing. So thank you for your time. I'll answer any questions you got. I'll sit down. I'll talk all night. I'll need to do that. Thank you, guys.
All right. Are there any other questions and/or comments? At this time, Madam Clerk, will you have roll call?
Mrs. Wilkins Brent.
Yes.
Mr. Crisp.
No.
Mrs. Hambrick.
Yes.
Mr. Hampton.
Yes.
Mr. Minky.
Yes.
Mrs. Lesby Mitchell.
Yes.
Mrs. Tingle Sames.
No.
Mr. Stone.
No.
All right, let the record reflect it was 5-3, is that correct? And the motion passed. Next is item B, which is zoning change ordinance 367 Paynes Depot Road. Sponsors are Sonia Wilkins Brent. Okay, we had conversation about this last week, but we'll go ahead and have your second reading.
An ordinance changing the zoning classification of certain real property containing approximately 182.44 plus or minus acres located at or around 1367 Paynes Depot Road, Georgetown, Scott County, Kentucky, from A1 to B4 PUD, C1, and R2 PUD. Summary. 1. Rezones approximately 182.44 plus or minus acres located at or around 1367 Paynes Depot Road, Georgetown, Scott County, Kentucky, 40324, Scott County PVA parcel number 140-30-002.000 from A1 agricultural to B4 PUD community commercial, C1 conservation, and R2 PUD medium density residential, contingent upon and effective only after the passage and publication of an ordinance annexing the subject property into city limits. 2. Provides for repeal of inconsistent laws, severability of provisions, and an effective date upon passage and publication. The full text of this ordinance is available for examination in the city clerk's office, 629 North Broadway, Georgetown, Kentucky, 40324, or at www.georgetownky.gov. Publicly introduced and read for the first time April 28, 2025. Publicly read the second time May 12, 2025.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, I will entertain a motion.
Motion, Mayor.
Motion made by Ms. Mitchell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Mr. Minke. Are there further questions and/or comments? At this time, Madam Clerk, roll call, please. Thank you.
Mr. Stone?
No.
Mrs. Tingle Sames?
No.
Mrs. Leslie Mitchell?
Yes.
Mr. Minke?
Yes.
Mr. Hampton?
Yes.
Mrs. Hambrick?
Yes.
Mr. Crisp?
No.
Mrs. Wilkins Brent?
Yes.
All right, let the record reflect the motion passed at a 5-3 vote. Next, item C, South Sewer Extension Ordinance. Sponsors are Willow Hambrick and Todd Stone. And Chase is coming up here just in case you had questions, but I think he talked about this last week and refreshed me that, remind you that this is where you all put some definite information in as to what will actually be a part of this project, correct?
That's correct. We've talked about this the last two meetings, and I don't have anything formal presentation, but I think we addressed the questions last week that we had during the first discussion. So if you have any further questions, I'm happy to answer.
Just one, I didn't catch it because I can't even spell cat, but on section 3, it should maybe say including but not limited to encouraging the construction of low-income housing, just a correction there for the record.
I missed that.
That's all.
Okay. All righty. At this time, second reading.
Service area for Georgetown Municipal Water and Sewer Service South Sewer Extension. Summary. 1. Identify specific properties that shall be allowed to connect to the sanitary sewer collection system that has been constructed as part of the South Sewer Extension Project. 2. Requires property owners connecting to the South Sewer Extension Project to pay the unit cost per acre portion as defined in Privilege Fee Agreement number 16. The full text of this ordinance is available for examination in the City Clerk's Office, 629 North Broadway, Georgetown, Kentucky, 40324, or at www.georgetownky.gov. Publicly introduced and read for the first time April 28, 2025. Publicly read the second time May 12, 2025.
Thank you. At this time, I would entertain a motion.
So moved.
Motion made by Ms. Hambrick. Do I have a second?
No second.
Second made by Ms. Brent. Are there further questions and/or comments? At this time, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Mrs. Wilkins Brent?
Yes.
Mr. Crisp?
Yes.
Mrs. Hambrick?
Yes.
Mr. Hampton?
Yes.
Mr. Minke?
Yes.
Mrs. Leslie Mitchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Tingle Sames?
Yes.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
All right, let the record reflect that the motion passed by a vote of 8-0. Next is item D, which is the 2025 Series A Bond Anticipation Note Ordinance.
So items D and E, you heard our Finance Director, Jeff Nutter, at a last meeting give a much better overview than what I can do on this material, but tonight we're requesting a second reading for the Bond Anticipation Note number 5, and this will replace our current interim financing Bond Anticipation Note number 4 that comes due June 1st. This will be our final interim financing piece of this process before we go to the bond market for the permanent financing of the wastewater treatment plant number 1 project. This last band number 5, it is an interest-only piece of financing, and it does have a call provision that we can pay this off at any point without any penalty. So you've got 2 readings tonight. This is the 2025 Series A Bond Anticipation Note Ordinance and the 2026 Series A Band Ordinance. The only update since the last meeting when we had the first reading is that Baird has helped us secure bids for the Bond Anticipation Note. Those came out very favorable to us. We have this band number 5 at a 3.927% interest rate, and we were budgeting for up to 5%. So this comes to our benefit. So we're happy to recommend that to the board. And if you have any technical questions related to either of the ordinances, I have Mark Franklin with Densmore here, our bond counsel, that he can answer those questions, as well as Chip Sutherland with Baird, and they can dive deeper into the technical piece if there are questions.
All right, at this time, second reading. Thank you.
At a duly convened meeting held on May 12th, the City of Georgetown, Kentucky, the city gave second reading to an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Georgetown, Kentucky authorizing the issuance of its water and sewer revenue bonds anticipation note 2025 Series A in an approximate aggregate principal amount of $33,590,000, which amount may be increased by up to $3,360,000 or decreased by any amount, to refund at maturity the city's water and sewer bond anticipation note 2024 Series A in anticipation of the issuance of the city's water and sewer revenue bonds 2025 Series A, designated the city as the paying agent and registrar for the 2025 Series A note, approving the form of the 2025 Series A note, approving the preparation of a request for proposals and other offering documents for the 2025 Series A note, authorizing designated officers of the city to execute and deliver the 2025 Series A note, authorizing and directing the filing of a notice with the state local debt officer, providing for the payment of and security for the 2025 Series A note, establishing a note redemption fund and a cost of issuance account for the 2025 Series A note, providing for the sale of the 2025 Series A note to the best bidder, and repealing inconsistent ordinances. The ordinance authorizes the issuance by the city of series of its water and sewer revenue bond anticipation notes in the approximate aggregate principal amount of $33,590,000, the 2025 Series A note, for the purposes of 1, fully refunding and retiring the outstanding amount of the city's water and sewer revenue bond anticipation note 2024 Series A dated May 30, 2024 at maturity, in anticipation of the future issuance of the city's water and sewer revenue bonds 2026 Series A. 2, paying capitalized interest for the 2025 Series A note, and 3, paying the cost of the issuance of the 2025 Series A note. The ordinance also approves the execution and delivery by the city of a request for proposals and other offering documents for the sale of the 2025 Series A note. The 2025 Series A note is to be sold at a private negotiated sale in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 424 of the Kentucky Revised Statutes, or by the solicitation of proposals as required by law. The 2025 Series A note is to bear interest payable at a single rate per annum from its date of issuance to maturity, as shall be established upon the sale of the 2025 Series A note. The interest rate applicable to the 2025 Series A note shall not exceed 10% per annum. Introduced and publicly read for the first time April 28, 2025, publicly read for the second time May 12, 2025.
All right, at this time, I will entertain a motion.
Motion, Mayor.
Motion made by Mr. Hampton. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Mr. Stone. Are there further questions and or comments? At this time, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Hampton.
Yes.
Mrs. Hambrick.
Yes.
Mr. Crisp.
Yes.
Mrs. Wilkins Brent.
Yes.
Mr. Minky.
Yes.
Mrs. Lesby Mitchell.
Yes.
Mrs. Tingle Sames.
Yes.
Mr. Stone.
Yes.
All righty. Next, item E, 2026 Series A Bond Ordinance.
At a duly convened meeting held on May 12, 2025, the City of Georgetown, Kentucky, the city, gave second reading to an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Georgetown, Kentucky authorizing the issuance of its water and sewer revenue bonds 2026 Series A in the approximate aggregate principal amount of $37 million, which amount may be increased by up to $3,700,000 or decreased by any amount for the purpose of refunding its water and sewer revenue bond anticipation note 2025 Series A at or in advance of maturity, designating a paying agent and a registrar for the 2026 Series A bonds, authorizing designated officers of the city to execute and deliver the 2026 Series A bonds and all related documents on behalf of the city, providing for the payment of and security for the 2026 Series A bonds, establishing a principal account, interest account, and cost of issuance account for the 2026 Series A bonds, approving the preparation of a preliminary official statement and final official statement for the 2026 Series A bonds, providing for the award of the 2026 Series A bonds to the lowest and best bidder, approving the filing of a notice with the state local debt officer, and repealing any inconsistent ordinances. The ordinance authorizes the issuance of a series of water and sewer revenue bonds by the city in the approximate aggregate principal amount of $37 million. The 2026 Series A bonds for the purposes of, 1, refunding the city's outstanding water and sewer revenue bond anticipation note 2025 Series A, or in advance of maturity, the proceeds of which fully refunded and retired the city's outstanding water and sewer revenue bond anticipation note 2024 Series A at maturity. 2, paying the cost of credit enhancements for the 2026 Series A bonds, if any, and 3, paying the cost of issuance of the 2026 Series A bonds. The ordinance also approves the preparation and distribution of a preliminary official statement and final official statement for the 2026 Series A bonds. B, the official terms and conditions of bond sale for the 2026 Series A bonds. And C, the execution of a continuing disclosure agreement in connection with the 2026 Series A bonds. 2026 Series A bonds are to be sold at an advertised public sale in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 424 of the Kentucky Revised Statutes as required by the law. The 2026 Series A bonds shall bear interest payable at a rate or rates from their date of issuance to their respective maturities, as shall be established upon their sale. Introduced and publicly read for the first time April 28, 2025, publicly read for the second time May 12, 2025.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. At this time, do I have a motion?
Motion, Mayor.
Motion made by Ms. Hambrick. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Mr. Minky. Are there further questions and or comments? Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Mrs. Wilkins Brent?
Yes.
Mr. Crisp?
Yes.
Mrs. Hambrick?
Yes.
Mr. Hampton?
Yes.
Mr. Minky?
Yes.
Mrs. Lesby Mitchell?
Yes.
Mrs. Tingle Sames?
Yes.
Mr. Stone?
Yes.
Thank you. Now, you still up here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll let you stay up here since you're still up here. All right, next on the agenda is GMWSS, and we first got item A, 10A, is Judy Construction for $462,535.72.
We just talked about how we're financing. Now we need to pay a bill. This is our 49th pay application, and I'll just say, you know, as we're going through this, hopefully our last interim financing piece, we're getting very close. We wanted to have that plan open already. You can see that in the documentation, but we still feel like we're close. We're moving in the right direction, and it is getting very exciting. As tough, as challenging as this project has been, we're getting close, and it is gonna come to fruition, and we're gonna have this asset that's gonna be provide value to our community, our current existing customers, as well as our future customers, however that develops. But this is for work on the project that was completed in April, And we know that we're past our beneficial use date, and we aren't there yet, but we're finalizing a revised schedule that will come to our board. I kind of talk about this, I feel like, every week, but that official request through a change order for time will come to our board. They will consider that, then it will come here as a change to the contract as well. So board has managed the capacity well enough that that's not a big issue right now, but said this is kind of, even though it's a large expenditure and it's somewhat routine at this point, it is important. And have any questions? Happy to
Thank you.
answer.
At this time.
Motion, Mayor.
Motion made by Ms. Mitchell. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second made by Ms. Brent. Are there further questions and or comments? All those in favor of the motion for Judy Construction for the amount of $462,535.72 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those that oppose say nay. Let the record reflect that it passed. Item number 2 is for 10B, WWTP number 2, filter modifications, recommendation of award.
First, let me point out on item 10B and 10C that neither one of these projects are funded through rate revenue. It's important to note because I talk about when we come, it's anything that was included in our 2023, 2022 rate discussion that's not on that list, I'm not bringing it to you. Or if I am, I'm bringing it to you with a really good excuse and justification. This is not funded, these two projects, they're not funded out of rate revenue. They're funded through our agreement with Toyota for operation of this plant. So this first one, as we jump in, this is at Plant 2, and this is replacement of our tertiary filters and our mechanical bar screen. This is 1988 equipment. So we have 3 tertiary sand filters, and we replaced one of them back in 2018. It's the first project that I got to be a part of at Georgetown Municipal. Now we want to, time has passed, we want to go ahead and replace filters 2 and 3. The bar screen is the original from 1988 as well. We've received 4 bids on the construction contract with the low of $2.270 million, and that's going to Pace. Pace completed the first sand filter replacement back in 2018, and just the tertiary filters, they add that final layer of filtration of solids and organics from the wastewater process before that water goes on to disinfection and then back to the stream. So any questions on this project?
At this time, I will entertain a motion. Motion made by Mr. Mickey. Do I have a second made by Ms. Mitchell? Are there further questions and or comments? All those in favor of WWTP number 2, filter modifications, recommendation of award, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Let the record reflect that pass. Item C, WWTP number 2, membrane roof replacement, recommendation of award.
Okay, we have 3 roofs on these 1988 buildings. It's time to replace those roofs. We did a project 2 years ago where we were going to change those from the flat rubber membrane roofs. We've got leaks in these 3 buildings. These roofs have gone beyond their useful service life. We were trying to go to a pitch style truss roof. Those bids came in, at least at the time, they were astronomical, so we threw those bids out and we tried to let some time go by to see if we'd see any market adjustments. When we rebid this project, we went with a different scope of work. Instead of trying to do what clearly was too expensive, we just are going back and replacing what is there on those flat roofs. It's the EPDM, it's a rubber roof. We're just going to pull the ballast off the roof, pull the rubber up, put new rubber down, put the ballast back on. So we received 3 bids with D&I submitting the low bid of $133,000, and we're recommending that for your approval.
All right.
Motion, Mayor.
Motion made by Ms. Mitchell. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Mr. Crisp. Are there further questions and or comments? All those in favor of WWTP Number 2, membrane roof replacement, recommendation of award. Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. Let the record reflect that it passed. Thank you, Chase, as always.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, council.
All right, next we have item number 11. We have the cemetery municipal order for surplus. And I believe that, okay, Stacy, you gonna tell us about that?
I don't have it in front of me. If you have any questions, I'll try to address them.
Is this equipment or,
Yes, it's equipment.
okay. Yes.
Motion.
Motion by Mr. Stone. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Hampton. Are there further questions and or comments? All those in favor of the cemetery municipal order for surplus signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Let the record reflect that it passed. Item 12, city clerk's going to talk about the municipal order for tax software. She's going to let
I'm just gonna
Stacy
stay
talk
here
about
for
it. Stacy, just get up and talk about all this.
Tracy will correct me if I get anything wrong, but the software that we're currently using has been bought out by companies a couple of times, so just need something with a little more capability. I believe we may not have maintenance on that software anymore, so this is something that we purchased through Sourcewell, I believe, one of our cooperative purchasing agreements. So it is a, if there's anything else I've missed, let me know, but
All
I've
right.
had that same software for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have a lot of functionality, so.
So this will give you more efficiency in doing your job of collecting money. I like it. All right. Do I have a motion?
I'll motion.
Motion made by Ms. Brent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Ms. Hambrick. Are there further questions and or comments?
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Just one quick question. So I noticed in the, sorry. So it's a 3-year term, basically very similar cost all 3 years, but the first year there was a significant $30,000 deployment fee.
Yes.
But then the next 2 years, you don't have the deployment fee, but the cost is more. for the next
I
2
believe
years.
the plan is to begin implementing, so you have a full year of maintenance versus just a month or so, is what is,
Okay.
there'll be some maintenance costs, once it's implemented the first year, and then the second year will be a full year of maintenance.
Okay. Then the second question is, so is anybody else using the new software that you're using here? Does anybody else in the area have software that you could be using?
Your software does
Does it, no, the accounting software doesn't, they don't have property
But like
tax.
Revenue Commission and, okay.
All right. She's on an island by themselves. Okay, so we have any other questions? All right. All those in favor of the motion for the city clerk to municipal order for tax software signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Let the record reflect that it passed. Item 14, the Finance Department, and we're talking about now City Hall change order number 6. Like I said, let's go back to 13. The city engineer resolution for the, oh, this ought to be a good one. This is where we're collecting money. We're getting money. So my bad. That's a good note. The city engineer is resolution for the county city bridge improvement program CCBIP grant fund.
Yes.
How did I miss
Thank
that
you,
one?
Mayor.
Okay.
As you all have heard, we applied for 3 bridges to be, grants for all 3 to repair. The repairs were identified by KYTC for the city. They do the inspections for the city. We have 8 to 10 bridges structures in our system, and we received a grant for this one. So we were very excited about that, and I ask you all to officially accept the grant from KYTC for the Clubhouse Bridge project.
And I think the amount was $310,042. $342,000.
342
and $10. Okay,
Yeah. And
so,
that was-
and I'm gonna have to take the fifth on this one, or mama's bad. I do have the big check given to me by a governor, and I did not bring it, but I promise to bring it next time. That lets you all know we do have a nice big check, okay? That, all right, so I will entertain a motion to accept this award.
I'll make a motion.
Motion made by Ms. Brent. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Ms. Sams. Are there any further questions and or comments?
Which bridge is it?
This is the clubhouse.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah, quick comment. I know we had talked about it in the traffic committee meeting.
Yes.
But we don't anticipate having to reroute traffic or shut down anything with that bridge because the repairs are with the support beams. Is that still on
Yes, the support
track?
beams, which are, you can't see from the surface or underneath. There probably will be some minor traffic during the daytime hours, but we'll make every effort to keep a lane open and keep traffic moving through there.
Okay.
We'll make sure we do that, yes.
Great. Thanks, Eddie.
All right. Are there any other questions and or comments? All those in favor of the city engineer resolution, County City Bridge Improvement Program, CCBIP grant funds, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Let the record reflect that it's passed.
Thank you
Item 14 now. Now we got the finance director back up again. Municipal order for City Hall change order number 6.
Yes, this is a change order that was discussed by the architects during their presentation, and I believe it was the last meeting for the fire department connection revisions that were requested for a total of $18,452.77. And after this change order, and the others that have been approved, contingency will be just under $524,000.
All right. At this time, I would entertain a motion.
Motion made.
Motion made by Mr. Chris. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second made by Ms. Tingle Sams.
May I ask a quick question?
You may ask the question.
Stacy, in the scope of the quote, item number 6 says price includes a $6,000 credit for the vault.
We have to defer to Devin on the detail on that one. She's looking it up.
Not that I'm, arguing about a credit, but, just,
Honestly, don't know. I get clarification on that piece of it.
We'll take it.
I know that- I think
I'll take it.
I know they're moving the original location, so maybe there were some credits that came from not doing work at the original location, but I'm kind of
Okay.
assuming here.
But I'm gonna assume that they did not open that vault and found a lot of money, so that didn't happen, so. Okay, so, if that was everybody thinking about that. All right, are there any other questions and or comments? All right, for item 14, for all those in favor of the motion for the municipal order for City Hall change order number 6, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay.
No.
Okay? Let the record reflect that it was 7-1 in favor. Item number 15, the Police Department municipal order for the, you gonna pronounce his name for
Ricotta.
Like it sounds, Verkada.
Yeah.
Okay, like it sounds, got it. Security Solutions.
So we are looking to replace our camera system as well as upgrade our access control. So our current system is original to the building, so we're looking at about operating a 10-year-old system. The software in the system we've got now is outdated and unsupported. We are also looking just to upgrade the hardware. You all had originally approved the software purchase, which is a 5-year licensing agreement. What we are coming tonight in front of you is to ask for an additional $37,788.04 in a one-time cost for all of the hardware. So this is the cameras, this is the key fob sensors, as well as environmental sensor for our evidence room and an environmental sensor for our canine kennel, so that we can monitor humidity, temperature, and if something's off in any of those, we can get alerted. as well as a one-time professional services. So this is all the installation of all of the said stuff for $38,760. So with the hardware, we do get a 10-year warranty with those. So what we, 5-year, a 5-year, I guess, refresh is kind of what we look at with most of our technology. So the hardware that we would be investing in, again, is supported for 10 years. But with the software agreement for 5 years, it's kind of gets us back to the table 5 years from now to see if that solution is still working for us, or if at that time we need to look at getting some upgrades or improvements. So, do y'all have any questions?
Any questions? At this time, I will entertain a motion. Motion made by Mr. Minky. Do I have a second?
Second, Mayor.
Second made by Ms. Sams. Are there further questions and/or comments? All those in favor of the municipal for the Verkada security solutions signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Let the record reflect that it passed. Item number 16, council discussions, whole business, backyard chickens. And I had gave you kind of an update, and I'll continue to do that. And that's
Before the update, Mayor.
If somebody updated about chickens, then we're doing. All right, so I'll give you an update on that as we follow through that, like I said. And does anyone else have any questions on some of that?
Mayor, if I could, one of the things, and I think we need to do this, whether this passes or this doesn't, I think one of the things we need to do, because we do have ag education programs in both high schools. We have an ag education program at Royal Springs Middle School, as well as some of the preschool down on Hamilton Street. I think we need to come up with a school exemption that allows them, if they want to do this, they need to be allowed to go ahead and do that, because I think that is an important part of ag education. And as far as the homes go, there's still a whole lot of things that need to be discussed on that. But I think as far as schools go, I think we definitely need to do an exemption for them as far as ag education goes.
And of course, we can keep that in mind as we put this together and that information. And if you want to send that to me, what your proposal is, I can use this as input as we go through it. Okay? All right. Any other questions about chickens? All righty. Item B, new business, is open fire permit fees.
Yes, I asked for that to go on the agenda because I was contacted by Ward Hall that because they have so much property out there and vegetation and damage through storms and things like that, that in the past they have burned the things that have been on the property. And in the past, the city has kind of overlooked them with having a fee on their burn permit. And now the city is not overlooking that and wanting the city, if we allow them to do a burn permit, to maybe offset the fee. So maybe what I'm asking for, like for the council to take a look at, is some of the nonprofits that need to have burn permits for whatever their situation is, as long as they follow the rules and regulations that are in the document, our ordinance, that we exempt them from the fees to help out the nonprofits. And that's Ward Hall in particular is asking for that. I doubt too many other nonprofits need that service that Ward Hall is doing out there, but they have a lot of debris they have to get rid of. It's cheaper to burn it than it is to haul it off or have somebody haul it off, and so they have done that in the past.
Mm-hmm.
But in the past, we've just let them burn it, but now they're saying, well, that doesn't follow our ordinance if we just let them burn it without having them pay the $50 fee. And I don't think Ward Hall has an abundancy of income out there to do burn permits 4 times a year or so that they need them. So what I would like to do is pass this over to the fire committee, let them discuss it, because I haven't discussed it with the fire department. They contacted me this week and I wanted to put it on the agenda, but pass this over to and let the fire committee discuss the pros and cons on it and then bring it back to the council with a recommendation for it.
Okay. All right, so you're talking about legislative action and actually put it to the
Put it over
committee,
to the fire.
and then went back to committee, and they will bring some type of recommendation back to this council.
And they can talk it over with the fire department, see what the fire department's pros and cons on that.
Question, Mr. Mickey, you have a question? You know, being an educator for so long, you get these kids in your classroom, you know they about ready to ask you a question. Go ahead.
Thank you. If we could get whatever the process is currently and what the fees are currently.
I think it's $50. $50.
To share with the council so we've got
We can get all
as
that.
background
We'll get all that information, and we'll share it through the process with them, through the.
Yeah, I had asked Devin for it, and she sent it to me, and then it was actually updated last year. It was actually updated, so, yeah.
Okay, and we can do that. I'll have staff assigned to that, and we'll get that going through the committee and get that looked at, and bring you back something from, a recommendation from the fire committee where they stand, and from there. And then you all can, from that point, you can take any kind of legislative action to change that ordinance to what it is.
Right.
All right? Okay. Are there any other questions on that? At this time, it comes to.
Mayor, and I had something come up today that, and I didn't get a chance to get it to Emily or anything on the budget, or on the agenda, excuse me. One thing we need to look at, and I think with the growing city, I think what we need to look at, and this may be another item that falls on the fire committee's plate, but be more than happy to help them with this, is from, look at creating an ordinance that any new developments over a certain size, say if it's over 100 homes, that they have to cut out half acre or an acre of land that is donated to the city for future use for a fire station. Because I think rather than the city having to hunt for a place to build a fire station, if you're gonna build a development of that size, you're gonna cut out an acre and donate it to the city for fire protection.
So if I understand you, it's like if they put like a neighborhood thing in place, you cut out land for that.
Yeah.
All right, so that's something that we can, I guess you want to look at, we can go through the legislative process to do that.
Yes.
To get that done. So any other questions?
No question. I was just wondering, as part of a new business.
Okay.
A new business, or, maybe in the future, just a mayor's comment, but I think with the work that's being done on the developer impact fees, keeping the council updated on the progress of that, and it not only keeps the council updated and the public updated, but will keep the developers updated as to what we're doing.
We'll promise that we will get that to you, and that process is, as Devin said, that we're working on that document. And again, the main thing you want to remember is that when you put this together, you want to make sure that you can defend it if somebody brings you to task. And there will be people that are going to bring you to task on this, and we got to be able to defend this and say, we got data and fact to show that we are putting this in place, and here's our data to support that. All right? Because, you can do it in Kentucky, but you know what? No one has a actual document to show you that. They say you can do it, but you got to figure out how to do that. So we're working with that, and we'll give you updates as it progresses. Any other new business?
Oh, Mr. Mayor? Yep. Recently, we've had some citizens come to us with some questions and concerns about our interlocal agreements, particularly with the occupational license fee sharing. I would like to ask, for their benefit and maybe for council benefit, for you to assign staff to research that for us, just so we can, have a little bit more information about that we can share with the public.
All right. So I will let's have staff look at that and bring you back some information, what we have on that.
Sounds great. Thank
you. Is there any other new business? All righty. At this time is our favorite time of the day. You all get to comment. And so I'm going to start with Mr. Crisp at that end.
All right. Well, I'm excited about possibly going to Japan with some of you, pretty much all of you if you wanted to go, but I am kind of concerned that Todd may be on the no-fly list. So Todd, are you legally allowed to fly in international water?
I'm good. The international part, I don't know with, no.
Oh.
All right.
I doubt very seriously, but
That's the only thing I have.
I can see this going south in a hurry.
thank you, sir.
All right, next. Miss-
It's a long trip when you go to Japan. Just the comment, I had sent you, Eddie and you on that Delaplane Road issue.
Okay.
The road on Delaplane. I actually did drive it yesterday, and it is caving in. There are sections of the
Okay,
road caving in.
we are still looking into that.
Yeah.
I think that's what we'll go back and revisit that.
Yeah,
and
there's
kind of
a-
give you an update.
It's at the mouth as it goes out onto Cynthiana Road, that there's a big section of the
Right.
road that's over there that's
Yeah.
caving in on it.
I am aware of that, and Eddie's aware of that, and we have been having conversation about that. Just want to see how we approach that, because that's a very delicate thing to deal with, so we got to figure out how we fix that, but I will get that back with you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
That's it.
All right, Mr. Minky.
Thank you, Mayor. Just two quick items. Had the opportunity, thank you, Mayor, and thank you to Patrick, to be able to go and see the City Hall. Unfortunately, it was right after we had the presentation, and that was very beneficial for me, especially with the discussion that we had with the architect and the engineers on the third floor area and then the water infiltration. Again, it reinforces to me that maybe we need to be thinking a little more broadly on what that repair looks like. And so, I asked to have that conversation again on what the options really are for that. The second item I have is, Eddie and I did have the opportunity to go up to Greenwood to take a look at their stormwater utility. And that was very, very beneficial, and I hope to be able to pull together a summary to share and get Eddie's input on that as well. But I think the benefits of that type of program are far and away more than what I think everybody's originally thinking. It's not just budget replacement. There are so many other benefits that connect the dots between good, positive, strategic growth and being able to fix these stormwater issues in a very attractive way, as well as making those areas very beneficial, especially from an education perspective as well as an aesthetic perspective. So stay tuned on that.
Well, again, thank you for doing that. I know you and Eddie had some information. I know that they've had theirs in place for like 15 years, is that correct?
Right.
So that's good, know that. And I'm sure we're looking forward to some of the information you'll be able to share with us. Ms. Hamburg.
Yeah, thank you to Stacy and all the department heads and Devin and Emily and the mayor and the finance committee for working on the budget. I know it's not an easy process and it took a lot of time, and I'm sure you did lose some sleep over it, but thank you for presenting that in such a way that is beneficial to all of us. And the pavilion is about to be open with the farmer's market. It looks great.
It is open.
Yep, and it's the ribbon cutting, and it was an exciting time. So I mentioned to the mayor and maybe to Devin, I've had a few people talk about it's springtime, and the Georgetown College had in the past offered land for the community garden, and they've had to sell that land. So did we as a city have land set aside for a community garden? I
Yes,
thought
it
we
was
did
out across
somehow.
from Toyota on
It-
Barkley Road.
It is in the business park, I believe, where phase 3 is set
Right.
to occur, so it will.
Still using it this year.
Yes.
They're still using it, so I can tell these folks to be able to
Contact the extension office.
contact this extension office.
But phase 3 is out to bid, so
Right.
it will not be there next year or potentially as part of this gardening season. So it is something that if we want to continue to provide that, we're going to have to get
So
get
we might
creative.
have to look and see if we can provide another space after this year.
Great.
Okay, thanks for checking that.
Okay. Is that it?
Yeah, unless you want me to recite a poem or something.
I tell you what, I had enough Beowulf and Canterbury Tales back when I was in high school, and I'm telling you what, I suffered through that, and I tell you what,
Okay.
that's a year of my life I'll never get back, so I'm gonna pass on to the next
I
one.
have nothing there.
You have nothing here. Next.
Greg?
Oh, okay. Just to echo what Willow was saying about the budget process, you know, many thanks to the mayor and his staff, Stacy and all the directors for their input into that. It, you know, it is a tough process. I know that firsthand. So, secondly, I did have the opportunity to attend the ribbon cutting ceremony Saturday morning at the Farmers Market Pavilion. It's very exciting for Georgetown. It's the first time I've been down there. It really looks nice, and I think it's something that we can all be proud of. You know, not only is it for a farmers market, but also, you know, for some other events as we go forward. So, thank you.
And I tell you, if you weren't there, it was really it was a lot of people there too, and I got me some nice fresh green beans and tomatoes, so I was in hog heaven. Next.
I got strawberries, and I came a little later, and it was packed. It's great. I got strawberry donuts too. I did want to say thank you to Stacy and to the department heads and the city staff for working on the budget. Greg and I spent some time as the finance committee, a lot of time, and hashing out and trying to make sure that, you know, as many needs as we could meet, we did. And I know we didn't do everything that everybody wanted, but we really hope that we were able to move this forward, and really do appreciate everybody's help. So, thank you.
Last but not least.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Glad to hear that the restroom project for Marshall Field, the football field, is moving forward. Talked with DT Wells over Parks and Rec Board. Was concerned about that, so glad to see that that's moving forward. Want to thank you all, everybody that was involved in the budget proposal. That was very eye-opening, that we're doing well. So the next thing is we hear from all the different directors, but we haven't heard from the IT director on a quarterly report. Any chance we can get her here for a quarterly report?
Yeah, she's going to be, along with NetGain, presenting at the next meeting, which that reminds me that we forgot one thing, which was the cancellation of the May 26th meeting on Memorial Day. So the plan is there will be a special called meeting in replacement of that on May 27th. And our IT liaison is scheduled to be presenting update on projects that she's completed, things that you've seen in the last fiscal year, things that are upcoming. And then we've also asked our managed service provider to kind of provide an update on their part. Obviously, they're a significant part of our IT budget, and so understanding, getting to put some faces to names there and see kind of what they've done. Obviously, everything will be, you know, appropriate for public consumption. You know, cybersecurity is one of our biggest concerns, as evidenced by the carryover of that cybersecurity assessment and disaster recovery plan. So Sarah will be presenting at the next meeting along with NetGain. So not necessarily a quarterly report, but more of a recap and, you know, what's happened and what's to come. So,
Okay.
Yep.
I have a question about what you just said.
Yes.
So our next meeting is going to be May 27th, but it'll be a special called meeting.
Yes, in
At what
replacement
time
of,
here?
it'll be the exact same setup, just in replacement of the Memorial Day meeting.
And so she'll be reporting at that meeting?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. And then that will be also first reading of the budget ordinance and any other,
Okay.
you know, regular agenda items that we need to
And
cover.
it's already officially moved, the date from
No.
26th?
No,
It is not.
Then in that
We-
case, I'll make a motion that we move the meeting.
Okay, so, all
And
right.
I'll second.
We'll jump in there and get that taken
All
care
right,
of.
so now all the kids come out of the cage here. Let's get this right. So, we have a motion made by you, by Mr. Stone here, to cancel the meeting on the 26th
Sixth.
council meeting, and then we'll have a special call meeting on the 27th. And was seconded by Ms. Hambret. Now, are there further questions and or comments? All those in favor of this motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay.
And the last thing I've got is this is National Police Officers Memorial Week. We have had our unfair share of police officer deaths, so please remember them and their families as well. I think we are somewhere approaching number 10 over the course of the city of Georgetown's existence. So.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, since there's no other further business to be brought for this council, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.